and the Thirdway Alliance, through the Thirdway Alliance leader, Ekuru Aukot, are now talking about a debate that has dominated the headlines, the referendum debate. What's their take? Let's listen in.
Declare our solidarity and support for the Punguza Mzigo initiative. Our constitution is not cast in stone. We remember Dr. Ekuru Aukot was the executive director of the committee of experts that came up with this constitution. So we trust him, and we know that he knows what ails us. He knows what we must do in order to cure our problems. We are actually overrepresented, and it is a burden on us as citizens, as taxpayers. We are overrepresented. If you look at countries like Nigeria with the population and the number of MPs they have, countries like the US and the number of MPs they have, we find that in Kenya we are overrepresented. And it is a burden on the taxpayer, it's a burden on the common man. That's why we are spending a lot on what we call the recurrent expenditure. So I don't want to say so much. I just want to say, as Bunge la Mwananchi, you know, Bunge la Mwananchi is a national movement founded with the sole mandate of fighting against social injustices. We are in 47 counties of Kenya. Here we are gathered as the Nairobi group, and we know that on this issue of Punguza Mzigo initiative, we totally agree with the Thirdway Alliance, and we are asking our members nationally to support that Thirdway Alliance and to propagate this Punguza Mzigo initiative in all the 47 counties of Kenya, so that we can, in this manner, we can cure our problems. Punguza Mzigo.
Punguza Mzigo.
Punguza Mzigo.
Punguza Mzigo.
Punguza mzigo ya ufisadi.
Punguza mzigo.
Punguza mzigo ya katiba.
Punguza mzigo.
Punguza mzigo ya gharama ya maisha.
Punguza mzigo.
Asanteni sana.
Asante. Thank you so much. Before we invite Daktari, we are also aware that Thirdway Alliance has got the national women leadership. And if you look at the reasons why we are pushing for the Punguza Mzigo, it's also going to address the issues of women representation. At this point, I would want to invite briefly our national women leader, Dr. Angela.
Thank you very much for the invitation. As you've been told, my name is Angela Mwikali. I'm the national women leader, Thirdway Alliance. And we are in fully support of this reduced parliament. We all know the kind of money that taxpayers are, spending to pay the MPs. As Dr. has said, we actually overrepresented. And so we want to make sure that Kenyans get value for their money. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Now, I said before, the three reasons why we called you here. Dr. Ekuru Aukot, the party leader, will speak to all those issues. But before we invite Dr. Ekuru, I have one announcement to make. This announcement goes to Kenyans. This initiative is your initiative. And that's why we are saying we are inviting all Kenyans. Today we are partnering with Bunge la Wananchi. We would like to partner with all Kenyans that are thinking the same way we are thinking. We invite you to join us. We invite you to be our agents of change out there, our agents of signature collection, and any other person that would want to join the movement. We invite you to come and work with us. At this point, I would want to invite Dr. Ekuru, who is going to take us through the three-point agenda why we are addressing the Kenyans today. Dr. Ekuru Aukot.
Thanks, Okango, and thanks everybody for coming. People have really wanted to find out what is Thirdway Alliance Kenya's reaction to the State of the Nation address delivered by President Uhuru Kenyatta last week. And of course, as you all may know, that last year, when we lost the election, we resolved that we are not going to abandon our pursuit of politics, our brand of politics, just because we did not win the presidency. We also offered that we shall ensure we check on the government of Uhuru Kenyatta, not necessarily to bring it down, as other people have attempted, but at least to make sure that we check the government. Whatever the government promises, we must give Kenyans an alternative view on what government has said or what we think should be better. So we began this process early in the year. As you may know, that we are the only political party that even submitted views on what the national budget should take into account. We are the only party that proposed a national agenda for conversation, which now I think they are trying to hijack. We are the only political party that actually proposed amending the constitution with 6 cogent reasons to save taxpayers' money. They are now beginning to hijack it because they want to get positions for themselves. But whatever the case is, we are happy that at least they are following us on the issue that we think are of national importance. Now, this is our official response to President Uhuru Kenyatta's State of the Nation address. And so after carefully studying the State of the Nation address issued by President Kenyatta, we offer our concerns and response to the President's address. We also bring on board other aspects that we thought the President missed in such an important address to the country. The bottom line is this, that this administration under President Kenyatta must get more serious if it cares about our country. It is people and our image as the nation we perceive ourselves to be. Government must be truthful to what it tells Kenyans and the world. The President must lead in that regard when delivering such statements to the nation. This is our response to the various subjects in the President's address. Number 1, on the role of Parliament. We take exception with the praises showered on the 11th Parliament by President Uhuru Kenyatta. If the President was truthful in his address, he would have concluded that the 11th Parliament was a disgrace because it did more harm than good to Kenyans. We encourage the President and Kenyans to acknowledge the following 4 reasons why we think the 11th Parliament actually failed Kenyans. The first one is that Parliament failed miserably in its role as a public watchdog in all 3 of its fundamental roles, which is representation, oversight of government, and legislating. For example, it is worth noting that the Auditor General completed audits of fiscal years 2013, 2014, 2015, 2015 and 2016, as well as the 2016 and 2017. But Parliament refused and failed to debate and approve the audit reports within the timelines provided for in Article 229 of our Constitution. Now, that failure alone denied the counties and the very constituents from where these members of Parliament come from the rightful share of money for development and services. You will all recall that they used the revenue, the fiscal year 2013-2014, which was about 937 billion collection, instead of the latest audit report, which had $1 trillion plus. Effectively, actually, parliamentarians conspired to deny their own counties and their own constituents development money for services. Now, a parliament that failed to perform its representational and oversight role was as good as a dead. In fact, we say dead as a dodo bird. In fact, the 11th Parliament passed an unconstitutional law, the Division of Revenue Bill number 8 of 2018. We expected the President to actually point out this under the watchful of that very, very President. It is time Kenyans invoked, in our view, Article 104 of the Constitution and recall all the parliamentarians over their dismal performance. As you can see, not only did the Parliament actually pass an illegitimate and constitutional law, the President also appended his signature to that unconstitutional law. So really, to shower praises to such a Parliament is in itself a fail. The second reason why we say that Parliament, the 11th Parliament actually failed and did not deserve any praises from the President's State of the Nation address is that the last Parliament failed to lead in the fight against theft of public money, which they Christianize as corruption. Theft of public money took place and continues to happen even today in all the 47 counties of Kenya and in all the national ministries and departments of the national government. We remind President Uhuru that the fight against theft of public money will always be a dead exercise as long as audit findings are not taken seriously and enforced. Why have the Office of the Auditor General, who we task to audit spending of public money, and when he makes incriminating findings, we ignore him and his office? Is government in conspiracy with thieves of public money? This is a question we actually ask ourselves, and we'll have expected that the President should have actually challenged Parliament why they are not, for example, seeking accountability of expenditure of public funds. Now, the third reason why we think that the last Parliament failed is that the last Parliament legislated to operationalize, or failed to legislate to operationalize the new Constitution. President says that the last Parliament legislated to operationalize the new Constitution. We don't agree with that fact. In fact, we are appalled by the delayed operationalization of Article 204 of the Constitution relating to Equalization Fund. The inaction by Parliament delayed the disbursement of equalization funds, denying residents of the most marginalized counties to access to the essential services that inform the necessity of Article 204. Parliament, in our view, is engendering iniquity in our country, and that cannot be a Parliament that the President praised so highly in his State of the Nation address. Fourth reason is that Parliament has failed to condemn, as it should, the actions of fellow parliamentarians who are advocating for violence in some regions of this country. Particular cases are those of Kapedo, Kainuk, and Baragoi areas of Turkana and Samburu counties, as well as what we are seeing in the borders of Kisii and Narok counties. Non-parliamentarians are publicly claiming those areas as a result of which violence is meted out to even the innocent, including the killing of 3 students and a driver in the Kapedo area of Turkana East just last Friday. If Parliament was worth its name, it would have by now summoned the Interior Cabinet Secretary, the Education Cabinet Secretary, as well as the Inspector General of Police to explain why persistent killings, and more particularly why non-parliamentarians are at the center of these conflicts. We expect Parliament to question the following parliamentarians on their role in those conflict areas. Baringo Senator Gideon Moi, who surprisingly was actually in Chamalingot holding a public forum about 10 kilometers away where the killing took place. MP for Tiati, William Kamket, Samburu North MP, Alois Lontoimaga, and others, as well as the role of our security forces on the ground. I mean, how can a vehicle be sprayed with bullets just outside a KDF camp, about 200 meters away from a KDF camp? Why did our security forces refuse to respond to the call for rescue from occupants of that vehicle? This is really the question that we expect a Parliament to begin to question, including the conduct of its own members, the people I have mentioned, and the people who have claimed that a certain region in this country belongs to their constituency and to the county. And we actually make connection between that claim and the killings that take place in these areas. So it's not really rocket science. Now, the second issue we want to address from the President's State of the Nation address is on counties and division of revenue. We point out to President Uhuru that the growth percentages cited in point number 15 of his speech are grossly misleading. The Division of Revenue Bill number 8 of 2018, which the President signed into law, was based on the wrong financial year of 2013-2014. We presented our memorandum to the Senate Committee on Revenue Allocation on the same, but we have noted that the revenue bill was passed without reference to public views and against the provisions of the Constitution, which require that the most recent audited reports be used in determining the division of revenue to counties. Now, the President swore to protect the Constitution and ought to have signed into law the revenue bill that was ought not to have signed into law the revenue bill that was in contravention of Article 229 of the Constitution. Now, basing division of revenue on old audited reports has denied counties an estimated Kenya shillings 150 billion in the year 2018-2019. This is clearly a conspiracy both on the part of Parliament, who passed a bad law, and on the part of the President, who signed such a bad and unconstitutional law. The President also talked about the judiciary. In the last 1 year, we have noted that the executive has distinguished itself as being notorious for disregarding court orders. It is in the public domain that the executive has very little regard for the judiciary. In fact, members of the executive, including the president himself, have even voiced disregard for the judiciary publicly. This was also followed by their then counterparts in opposition who are now in government with them. It is our opinion that the State of the Nation address should have been read together with a public apology to the judiciary for insults that both political coalitions, who I said are now in government with the government, directed at the judiciary after the Supreme Court ruling of 1st September 2017, as well as the repeat poll of October 2017. We hardly see any efforts being made to bridge the gap that currently exists between the two arms of government. The gap and rift is widening, just like the gap between the poor and the rich in our country. We are also aware that many of the president's foot soldiers threaten the judiciary, and specifically with the slur, "We shall revisit." We expect the president to take the moral high ground as the father of the nation and lead his lieutenants in apologizing for the verbal onslaught against the judiciary that was reminiscent of the 2007 post-election period. The State of the Nation address provided that opportunity, but the president missed to use it. The fourth issue that came out from the president's address was on theft of public money. Of course, they like to call this corruption. While we agree with President Uhuru Kenyatta that Kenyans should report crimes they may come across, we strongly differ on use of that avenue as far as theft of public funds is concerned. Our party, the Thirdway Alliance Kenya, has severally advised the executive to use audit reports as the first piece of evidence in prosecuting thieves of public money.